Welcome to Sports Talk with RKJ. I'm your host, Steve Risser, along with my co-host, Justin D'Onofrio and Kyle Galuli. And week of 12 of the NFL season is upon us, and we got a really big game between two AFC South rivals, a rematch of a wild card game last year as the Colts travel down to Houston to face the Texans. And this should be a really good game between these two teams. I mean, I think they're both coming at 6-4. They both the Colts won last week, but the Texans really struggled last week against the Ravens, and I think this is a close competitive game. But I think the biggest difference in this game is going to be the Colts not having Marlon Mack. I think that's going to be a big difference because that's going to force them to be one-dimensional. And Jacoby Brissett's a decent quarterback, but when you got to force him to be one-dimensional, it could lead to problems. And I think it's a close competitive game. I think Watson makes his share of plays. I think the Colts do a good job against the run. So do the Texans. I think both teams stop the run well, but I think Watson makes a little bit more plays than Jacoby Brissett. And I'm going to have the Texans winning this game over the Colts 27-20.
Yeah, I have the Texans winning this one 27-24, so I have the Colts covering. I think this is really. I'm very interested how the Texans bounce back from just absolutely getting embarrassed by the Ravens last Sunday. I think all three of us thought that was be a pretty good game, and it was
over quick.
Yeah, and Watson just got absolutely destroyed. It just seemed every time he dropped back, he was getting hit every time.
Real quick about that Ravens Texans game, did you guys see that PI that they did not call?
Oh, I know.
And they even reviewed it.
That was a terrible call.
That was all.
And it's just like, and what the thing that made me think about with that call was the fact that they made that call obviously because the egregious missed call in the NFC Championship game, and people were saying maybe that thing was just there for egregious calls that were just that bad. We had one, and they still did not call. I don't get it.
The only time they reverse it is when the booth calls down under the 2-minute warning. That's the only time they've reversed it.
Because I think it was even, and one of the announcers was saying, like, the magical thing to get a PI called is if you hook someone and they get pulled. That happened along with two other ways PI could have been called, and they still did not call it. I don't understand it, but
I don't know. It seems like they're just trying to. So, the guy, it just seems like they don't want to change the.
Yeah, because they probably don't want, I don't know, maybe not embarrass the rest, but like maybe show them up in a way. I don't know.
The CFL, mate, you can do any penalty. You can challenge any penalty. They reverse it, but I think Jonathan Williams had a huge day though last week in Jacksonville. He ran for 116 yards, so maybe the Colts can get a little success going, but. We'll see, but I think the Houston at home bounces back. They won 27-24.
Yeah, if you're the Texans, you got to bounce back. Obviously, like we said, they got embarrassed by the Ravens. I mean, really, essentially, who hasn't, except the one time they played Cleveland. But right now, if Texans bounce back, and like I said, all you mainly got to do is just focus on Jacoby Brissett because Marlon Mack obviously, unfortunately, broke his hand. Nyheim Hines, who's a talented, kind of like a scat back kind of guy who can catch a little bit, like run a little bit. He can give you something here, and he's not gonna be like a 20-25 carry guy, but he can maybe get 10 to 15 touches mixing it in with the run and the pass. And it's, I don't know, T.Y. is he gonna play? Maybe. It's just like, how many weapons can they lose before the offense for the Colts really that really starts to hinder them, because Brissett's not going to be the guy who can. He's not a Deshaun Watson kind. He's not going to win you the game, but he's not going to lose you the game. Essentially, is the quintessential game manager who can come up big on the third down. So if you have him going up against Deshaun Watson, I mean, that's a mismatch to the definition of one. And I think the Texans are going to bounce back, and I have them winning 27-20.
Yeah, I mean, this should be a really interesting Thursday night game. I mean, the winner is in good shape to win the AFC South right now. I think the Colts are obviously, I think they're the number 4 seed, and the Texans are the number 6 seed in the AFC. So this is going to be a really interesting game. Should be a very competitive game, and I'm very excited to watch it Thursday night.
Colts already beat them a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, they beat them at home in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So we got an NFC South matchup in New Orleans this week as the Panthers travel to New Orleans to face the Saints, and this should not be a close game. This should be a blowout. I think the Saints, with their identity and their run game, with Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara. Michael Thomas has another big game because Michael Thomas has been outstanding this year. Probably right now you could argue he's one of the best wide receivers in football. I think the Saints, I think on defense, the Saints contain Christian McCaffrey, which is huge because Christian McCaffrey is pretty much Carolina's team right now. Kyle Allen was absolutely pathetic last week. I think the Panthers have trouble stopping the run, so the Saints will have success running the ball. I think that the Saints contain McCaffrey. I think the Saints win this game by 2 or 3 scores. I got the Saints beating the Panthers 27-10 this week.
I got the Saints win this one 31-17. I think the Saints should have ton of success through the air, and just offensively they'll be able to move the ball against Carolina. And it seems like Carolina got out to a hot start this year. They've lost 3 out of 4. Remember last year they ended the season losing 7 out of the last 8, and they finished 7-9. So it just kind of seems like
following the trend.
Yeah, it kind of just seems like they haven't been able to finish. Allen, he's looking pretty good the first couple of weeks, but the last week was probably his worst game. He looked just awful against Atlanta, and now you got to go to New Orleans. And is Marcus Lattimore back?
He may or may not be back, but I don't think it's going to matter at all because Kyle Allen was absolutely terrible last week, and he could probably be terrible this week.
He probably will. I was high on him early, but starting to fall. It still says he's still questionable, so we'll see. But Saints should take care of business at home.
Yeah, I definitely think the Saints are going to win by 14 for the fact that you guys said what you're going to have that defense or Kyle Allen going up against that defense. I mean, I doubt that's going to work out for you. And if you have one weapon essentially, which is Christian McCaffrey, which is an all-world weapon, he's probably maybe the second or third best running back in the league right now. Maybe you can argue the best if you want to. I mean, he's like Alvin Kamara plus. He adds that ability where he can't really carry the ball every down, but after a while, it's just like how much carries can he take? How much punishment can he take? You worry about injuries later on in the season where that can potentially, come back, and bite him and in the team, and ultimately maybe do him in later on in the season. And Michael Thomas right now, I mean, this guy is, again, I mean, I know I said the past couple of weeks, I don't understand how he gets this many catches. I mean, he has 94 catches through 10 games. I'm trying to think of who has the record for catches in the season. Isn't Marvin Harrison, I think?
Could be Chris Carter.
Or some, I'll look it up in this. But it's I feel like it wouldn't be surprising if he broke the record. I mean, it's just it's insane. This guy with 94 catches, 1,141 and 5 touchdowns through 10 games. And it's just that level of talent going up against that team. That I think he has a big game. I could see maybe 10 for 150, maybe even reaching towards 200 for him. And it's just going to be a big game. And I think if Colin continues to struggle, are they going to rethink the whole Cam Newton, getting rid of Cam Newton type of thing? Because it seemed like one of the main reasons why they were doing it is because they felt high on Kyle. Maybe not that he was going to be an elite quarterback. Because I don't think no one's thought that. But they thought he'd at least be a competent quarterback. Last week, he looked lost. And if that continues to happen, I wonder if they might rethink the Cam situation.
That very easily could happen there. So we got the 8-2 Seahawks traveling east to Philadelphia to face the 5-5 Eagles. This is a really, really interesting game. I've been going back and forth on this game. This game could go either way. But at the end of the day, I think the Eagles' injuries are going to come back to hurt them again this week. They could be without Lane Johnson. They could be without Jordan Howard again. We'll see what happens with Alshon Jeffrey. But the Eagles are banged up going into this game. And I think that they're going to be able to stop I think they'll be able to contain Seattle's run game. And I think Russell Wilson has a big game. Throws a couple touchdown passes. And I think for Carson Wentz, I think it's going to be he's going to play decent in the game. But in typical Carson Wentz fashion, we've seen it all year. We saw it in Atlanta. Didn't get the drive down the field to win the game. We saw it against the Lions. Couldn't get the team into field goal range. And we saw last week with Carson Wentz, had Zach Ertz wide open twice in the last drive and missed him. I think in typical Carson Wentz fashion, this is going to be close. This will be close right at the end of the game, but I don't think Carson Wentz makes the play to win this game. And I got the Seahawks going to Philadelphia and winning this game and going to 9-2. I got the Seahawks winning 28-24 over the Eagles.
Yeah, it's Seattle win this one 30-27. Same with you, Steve. I think if the Eagles are healthy, I definitely pick the Eagles at home, but just because they're just so banged up, they don't have many wide receivers at all at right now. And Nelson Aguilar is their number one at the moment. We saw last week his hands are not great at the moment. So I think, and Seattle now coming off the bye after going to San Fran and winning that great Monday night game on the road. Russell comes out back and plays well. And yeah, I think Carson Wentz will definitely keep them in the game. I think they'll be able to do enough offensively because we've seen the Seahawks defense isn't that elite, that elite defense we've seen in the last, or like from a couple years ago. So Eagles will be able to move the ball. I just think, I'm going to take also the better quarterback, of course, is Russell Wilson.
Yeah, real quick, the most catches in the season was 143 by Marvin Harrison in 2002. So, yeah, Michael Thomas is going to break that. Anyway, back to the game. I think the Eagles are definitely going to lose. Like you said, the weapons, you have just such a lack of weapons. I mean, you have a number one tight end, Zach Ertz. Obviously, he's one of the better ones in the league. But like you said, Alshon Jeffrey, even when Alshon Jeffrey plays, it's like, it just seems like he got slower somehow. So he's not able to get a ton of separation. And they gave him a decent contract, maybe last season, roughly, I think it was. So he's got a decent contract. So you have him, Aguilar, whose like regression is ridiculous. The man can't catch. Even though it would have been a tough catch. Yeah. My thought is, unless you got to like really like leap out for it, if it hits your hands, I'm expecting you to catch it. You're a pro. That's what you're supposed to do, catch the ball. Like the run game, last week, that was the weakness of the Pats defense, is the run game, and they really didn't feel like they tried to exploit it. Obviously, Jordan Howard wasn't there, but I mean, so like mix in Miles Sanders or like just anyone. It's like just attempt it, because if you like go at the weakness of the team, that's what I don't understand. They refuse to do it, and right now, Russell Wilson being right there with Lamar Jackson in the MVP race, going up against that Eagles defense, which I mean has a good pass rush, but I mean good luck catching Russell. Then if you do, you can throw Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf, maybe Josh Gordon, in a clutch situation down down late in the game. But I mean, I don't see a way the Eagles win this unless somehow that offense just gets humming. I have Seattle winning by a touchdown.
We have an NFC matchup in Washington between two struggling teams as the Detroit Lions face the Washington Redskins. And this game, I think the Redskins are going to win a game. The Redskins, they have one win. I think this is a week that the Redskins are going to win. I think they're going to be able to get that running game going with Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis. I think they're going to be able to get pressure on Jeff Driscoll. Jeff Driscoll played pretty well last week, but I don't think he plays as well this week. I think the Lions struggle to run the ball. They struggle to stop the run. The Lions defense has really struggled this season. I think in an upset, I'm going to take the Redskins to win this game 24-19 over the Lions.
Yeah, I could see it. I think the Lions are going to be able to do enough. I could kind of see the Lions looking ahead that the Bears are coming in for Thanksgiving. So, maybe overlooking the Reds. I definitely see it. I think Jeff Driscoll didn't get his first career win, though. 27-20. 3-game losing streak for the Lions. Driscoll played well last week. They got out to that quick start, too. Elliott fumbles the first, second play of the game. They go right down get the ball to 20. They punch it in, and then that was really about it. They slowed down. Elliott really did not do much at all on the ground last week, but Dak Prescott absolutely tore them up through the air. And Dwayne Haskins didn't even look terrible last week. He played pretty well. I know he threw a pick, but he wasn't awful. He looked like he knew. Looked like he felt a little bit more comfortable out there, especially with the weapons he has. He doesn't really have any.
But did you see that? The one thing that just epitomizes this Washington team, and I think just the culture. Did you see that clip of Dwayne Haskins on the sidelines talking to his offensive lineman?
Terrible.
Have you seen it, Justin?
I've seen it.
That's bad. Like, that just shows you right then and there, they're not winning. They're not built to win. They don't have the winner's mentality. And you could see Dwayne Haskins coming from Ohio State. Like, that's a winner's mentality in Ohio State. He's coming in here and he's probably like, what in the bleep is going on? Because it is bad. One of the offensive linemen literally is laughing at him.
It's just
like, I'd be go to get rid of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's just it's sad, and that's kind of what this organization has been the last few years. It seems like with all this Trent Williams stuff, and now this, it's just it's just so dysfunctional. And also another reason why the Lions, I think, win this game.
Yeah. I wish Trent Williams was just there, because I feel like someone like him who's a veteran would have put people in their place and been like, listen, get your act together. We got to do this. And need actually a veteran presence that people would hopefully at least respect. Because I mean, a lot of people aren't going to respect a rookie's point of view at this point, just because it's just the way the NFL seems like it is for majority. But I feel like the Lions are definitely going to win this game because I said I just don't trust Washington at all right now. I feel like the Lions are going to. I don't think they're going to be as effective on offense because it was surprisingly how relatively easy they could move the ball at times. It seemed like almost effortless, and that was pretty surprising to me. And right now, I just don't, like I said, I don't see a way Washington wins. So I think I have the Lions winning by 10 points.
We got an AFC matchup at the Meadowlands this weekend as the Raiders travel east to face the Jets. And this is a very interesting game because the Jets have played well. They've won their last two. Sam Darnold has played well. The Raiders, they've played really well. They're 6-4 right now. So this should be a really interesting game. But I'm going to take the upset here. I think the Jets, since they've inserted Bilal Powell into the lineup, have him split in carries with Le'Veon Bell, I think their running game has been better. Sam Darnold has played better the last 2 weeks. I think he plays well again this week. And I think I think the Jets, one thing the Jets do on defense is they stop the run. And the last 2 weeks, Jamal Adams has just been a complete animal. He's been unreal. He's been playing better than maybe any defensive player in the league.
And they were talking about trading him.
I know. He's just been outstanding. He's right now the best safety in the league. And I think that Sam Darnold gets more of a running game and makes more plays than Derek Carr. And the Raiders, they have to travel east, so it could be tough for them. I got the Jets in the upset 24-20 over the Raiders.
Yeah, I get the Jets who 28-24. My brother and dad aren't too confident about this game, so even though the Raiders do win, it sets up that huge matchup in KC next Sunday. But I think the Jets have scored 34 points in both their games last 2 weeks, so their offense is really starting to hum. They're really starting to figure out something. Jamal Adams, has been great. The Raiders didn't even look great last week. And the Bengals, they were able to move the ball. Derek Carr was like 21 for 25 with 2 interceptions, but 2 touchdowns. Jacobs been able to run the ball. But Jets have, surprisingly first in the league, stopping the run. But so I think the Jets at home are going to be able to get done 28-24 because I think this is like the 3rd or 4th time the Raiders have already had to travel east too. So a lot of miles already flowing for them.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Jets with you guys. I think they'll win by 3. I could imagine this being a last second field goal. Essentially for the reasons you guys said. I mean, traveling all the way back to the East Coast. The Jets are not that they figured out, but like they're in the process of, and obviously we know they can stop the run. Like it's very hard to run against that defense. The only thing that has me worried is just when you have a defense that has a good run defense, but the pass defense is a little hit or miss. Like sometimes they they'll play good. The next drive they play pretty poorly. How many times can you keep putting out that defense? Eventually I feel like it's going to wear down. That potentially could be what with Sam Darnold, because it's just some games he performs good. Like we'll just show the Cowboys game, first game back from having mono, played pretty good. Then you go to the next game, the Patriots, it was painful. Even being a Patriots fan, it was painful to watch that game. But I do think eventually, like traveling all the way back and forth, this is going to be those games where maybe they like a little jet lag, traveling is going to get them. And like you said, if the Raiders are looking ahead of their next game, maybe they take their opponent too lately, that can come back and bite them. I still think it's going to be close, but the Jets by 3.
We have a matchup in Chicago of 2 struggling teams, the Giants who've lost 6 in a row and the Bears who have lost 5 of their last 6, and both these teams are complete messes. I mean, I would honestly say right now the Bears are probably a bigger mess than the Giants because of the expectations the Bears had. I mean, the Bears had Super Bowl expectations. Unfortunately, they were my Super Bowl pick going into the season, and it has just
Trubisky ruined it.
Yeah, it has completely went the other way for that team. I mean, if you look at the Matt Nagy situation, I mean, the Bears are completely dysfunctional. I mean, if you go back to last Sunday night, the Bears were down 17-7 in the 4th quarter. The Bears pull Mitch Trubisky. Matt Nagy says it was because of a hip injury, and then Trubisky says he got hurt in the first half. Well, if you got hurt in the first half and you're still in the game, why do you get pulled late in the game? It made absolutely no sense. And then Matt Nagy comes out I think yesterday or Monday and said, "Oh, Mitchell Trubisky's our starting quarterback." It makes absolutely no sense. It's complete dysfunction with the Bears. I think Ryan Pace went in there and said you would need to play Mitch Trubisky. It's just because of in the 2017 draft how much they gave up for him. So the Bears right now are completely dysfunctional. And you look at the Giants' schedule, the next 3 games, because they got the Packers and the Eagles. They probably won't win those 2 games. This is the game for the Giants to snap. I know they're in Chicago, but this is the game for the Giants to snap their losing streak. The Bears fans, if they get off to a slow start, are going to completely turn on their team. You're going to hear a lot of boo birds. They got off to a slow start. I think this is a low-scoring, really, really ugly game. But in the end, I got my Giants snap just because of how dysfunctional the Bears are right now. I got my Giants snapping their six-game losing streak and beating the Bears. I think Daniel Jones, he might have a turnover here or there, but I think he manages the game to a level where I think the Giants stay in the game. I think the Bears defense keeps them in the game, and I think Trubisky, again, is absolutely terrible because I think he has no confidence right now. Even against the Giants defense, he's terrible. I think I'm going 17-13 Giants in the upset.
I've taken the Bears very
Reluctantly.
Yeah, that's where I'm. 20-17. I feel like because the Bears, they had a couple of chances early. Like the Rams turned it over. They worked with a short field. They didn't get it. They didn't do anything with it. They missed a field goal. The Bears had their opportunity in the first half. They don't take advantage of it. I'm worried, though, with the Giants' offense of Barkley, because we saw that last game he played 2 weeks ago against the Jets. Barkley only had the 1 yard for 13 carries, so I'm a little worried about the run game for the Giants. If he's not 100% healthy, they can make Jones be one-dimensional, which definitely could have some success. I just think the Bears often be able to move the ball a little bit. Giant defense is struggling. And I think maybe they force a turnover too in short field. Maybe they capitalize on it, but I'm, very nervous about this pick. I think Bears maybe get it done at home. If they don't, be rough times in Chicago.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm taking the Bears, but like you said, I'm very reluctant because I think the Bears are going to win, but it's going to be an ugly game. I think it's going to be a 16-10 win for Chicago, and it's so painful watching this team because you see it from last year. Even though last year they weren't the Chiefs, but they were able to move the ball. Like they were able to pull off whether it was trick stuff or whatever it was. It was able to work. They were able to move the ball, actually have something resembling an offense. I mean, right now, on offense, they're only rushing the ball for just a hair under 80 yards, and
they missed Jordan Howard.
And I literally at the beginning of the year I didn't understand why they got rid of Jordan Howard. It made no sense to me. It's not like
they thought David Montgomery was going to replace his production. He hasn't came close.
But it's like David Montgomery still isn't to me like the level of a power back that Howard is. And it's like I could understand if it was someone like, let's say how with the 49ers, how you have like 3 or 4 like speed running backs. I can understand that because they're all essentially the same kind of running back. You have Tariq Cohen, who's a receiving back, speed back. So you have Lightning. And then you have Thunder with Jordan Howard. And they're, like you said, they're missing him big time. And whatever progression that Trubisky was making, it's all gone. We've gone back to square one. This guy honestly looked better in college than he is now. He looks lost. Man does not have a single shred of confidence. And it's just painful.
Yeah, and going back to that injury thing, Steve, when you were talking about, he looked him and Nagy looked like Trubisky looked very emotional, like he actually got pulled more than hurt. To me, I don't know, when they were kind of hugging on the sideline, that's what it kind of looked like to me.
Well, I feel like the way Nagy was like kind of talking about all that fact of, it's like he understands like that he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because that's the quarterback he was given. Maybe he didn't exactly want that quarterback, but he's got to, do it. So, and he's getting relentlessly booed, whether you want to say it's fair or unfair. And if you have someone that has their mentality isn't strong, and if Chicago fans keep constantly booing you, guess what? Your confidence and your mentality is going to go gone. It's going to be bad in 7 kinds of ways. And it's painful because you could see Nagy knows what he's doing on offense. He draws up stuff. You could tell what his plan is, and Trubisky cannot use it. He cannot do it. He cannot execute it. He cannot complete simple passes half the time that a high school quarterback can. And if you have that going, I mean, like I just don't. I have no faith in that. I mean, I have way more faith in Daniel Jones than Trubisky. I don't see the way the Bears are going to win. And I mean, they might end up throwing something on the field after this game if it's that bad. But I mean, good luck, Chicago.
We got an AFC matchup in Buffalo as the 3-7 Broncos travel to Buffalo to face the 7-3 Bills. And I think this is like a lot of the Broncos' losses have been this year. I think this is a close, competitive game. I think the Broncos defense gets pressure on Josh Allen. But I think on the flip side, and I think they contain the run game of Buffalo with Singletary and Gore. And I think on the flip side, the Bills defense is I think Lindsey will get some yards on the ground because the Bills struggle against the run, but I think the Bills defense definitely gets pressure on Brandon Allen. But I think at the end of the day, and this is the way the Broncos have been losing all year, really close at the end of the game. I think it's the same thing this week. I think this is a close competitive game, and at the end, I got Buffalo winning it 20-16 over the Broncos.
Yeah, I got Buffalo over Denver 20-14. Denver got up to that fast start last week, going up 23-0, and just fell apart. On a 4-drive defensively, they gave up 4 touchdowns. With how good this defense is, you don't really expect to have them give up 4 touchdowns in the second half on a 4th drive, but it happened. Interesting to see how they bounce back from that. I just think Buffalo's defense is going to shut them down. Back-to-back weeks, 2 traveling the East Coast for the Broncos. I think Josh Allen's able to do enough, and Buffalo will be able to win at home, and they better win this one because their schedule coming up is at Dallas, home versus the Ravens, in Pittsburgh, in New England. They finish up with the Jets. So if you lose this one, that could be a 3-game lose, or 2-3 game losing streak, because going to Pittsburgh may be tough too for them. So the Ravens want to stay in contention for that wild card. They better win this one at home.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Denver, and I understand you're going up against the Vikings, who are a good team, how do you blow that lead again? And it's just the first half you look amazing. Second half you look like you're lost and you practically don't know what you're doing out there. And if you're Buffalo, like you said, if you want to keep track with the wild card and hopefully, have a chance to make the playoffs, this is one of those quintessential games. You got to win this. You're 7-3 going up against a team that's 3-7. If you're Buffalo, I need to just see this offense just get maybe a little more explosive down the field plays. That's just what I want to see, because they're able to run the ball enough with, whether it's Gore or Josh Allen, running the ball, you're able to, mix and run and keep that up. So sometimes with Josh Allen, I've been harping on this all year, it's just the inconsistency with the passing and the accuracies, and that comes back to just bite them so often. And it just stunts their growth on offense and their drive so much. And then the defense, you got to keep pushing out that defense, which has been playing pretty good. It's one of the better defenses in the league. And right now with Denver, I mean you have Philip Lindsay. The team, other than that, it's decent. But right now I think Buffalo will win this game. I think it's going to be, again, I think a lower scoring game. I feel like Buffalo is going to win 20-13.
We got an AFC matchup in Cleveland, and we know who the Browns will be without and should be without, I think, for a very long time. Yes, the appeal is being heard today, but we'll talk about the situation right now. What happened because we weren't on the air. The last time we were on the air was on Wednesday. We haven't talked about this yet, but what Myles Garrett did was absolutely despicable and disgraceful. Honestly, if I'm the Browns, I'd cut him and honestly, I know they're not going to cut him because of the talent, but he should just. Honestly, he should be suspended forever in the league. That is uncalled for what he did. Yes, should Mason Rudolph get a game? Absolutely, for instigating it. But what Myles Garrett did was despicable and disgraceful and pathetic and embarrassing. It's embarrassing to the Browns organization. It's embarrassing for himself. People that are out there defending them have no clue what they're talking about. You don't take someone else's helmet off and hit him in the head. I don't care who instigated it. That was just absolutely terrible.
Yeah, I could I'd be fine if you guys started throwing hands at each other. I'll live with that. That's what people do when they get mad and adrenaline kicks in and people want to show their manhood. You don't swing helmets. That's literally, because you saw he hit him with the side of the helmet. Imagine if he hit him with the crown of the helmet. That man literally could be dead.
That guy, he's lucky he didn't walk out of it.
Yeah. That's scary. And also think about that. A couple weeks earlier, what happened to him with Earl Thomas when he got laid out? This man's coming off a severe concussion. Yeah. Getting smacked upside the head. And Myles Garrett's one of the most freakish athletes in the NFL and one of the strongest guys whipping a helmet at you. Oof. Just awful. Go ahead, Justin.
That was one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again. I think the last time we've kind of seen something close with that with the step. that what the Cowboys Bills back in 06 or whatever.
Well, it was Albert Hainsworth did it when he was on the Titans.
Oh, it was the Titans.
Yeah. When he stepped on a guy's head that was didn't have his helmet on.
Yeah, that was bad. This was just worse. He just kind of just swung it at him. I don't know if you guys saw what like Barstool did. Is a guy did that with a helmet and like a wood chair, and the wood chair split in half. So it's like he's really lucky, Rudolph, that that he's dead. He got to be able to walk up, and then that Browns guy comes after that D lineman or whatever, just knocks him over, knocks Rudolph over after. Like, that was just dumb. And I know Rudolph instigated and all that, but you can't respond like that if you're Garrett. I'm fine with him being suspended for the year.
So this is one real quick about instigating. This story I saw, I don't even think Rudolph instigated it though.
I know he was trying to rip that Garrett's helmet.
Because my thing is, I think Myles Garrett started the whole thing by because he held him for like a second or two and then took him to the ground. To me, that's what started it. Because to me, what happened with that fight is that, to me, like I said, Myles Garrett started. To my eyes, Myles Garrett started it. Rudolph escalated it. Myles Garrett escalated it again. Rudolph escalated again. Myles Garrett finished it with the helmet. And to me, if I'm anyone on the Steelers, Pouncey forever has my respect. Like we go somewhere, I'm buying that man's food. Like, we go out to get some drinks, I'm buying his drinks. Now, the kicking aspect of it, don't kick the dude's helmet because if anything, you're going to injure yourself. Yeah. But the way that man reacted, that's how you should react.
Yeah, and I know he had the 3 games. I don't think... Now, because the way he was defending quarterback, so he didn't get hit in the head again with the helmet, but I don't think... And I know they had to suspend him, but I was hoping it was only going to be for 1 game.
It's probably because of the kick. That's probably what did it.
And I hope it is, because it's like he was making sure that his quarterback does not get killed on a football field. Yeah. That's what he's trying to defend his quarterback like an offensive lineman should do.
Oh, yeah.
So he's kind of doing his, he's doing his job. But, it just... You just hate to see something like that, and it's bad for the league too, for all these people that are kind of scared of having their kids play all this.
And the Browns activated David Njoku, by the way.
Oh, so it's just bad for the league.
Absolutely. And I think for the game, I think because they're not going to have Myles Garrett, I think there's a little bit of a lull with this team. I think they still win the game because they're playing the Dolphins. I think they have success running the ball with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. But I think on defense, I think their defense is going to definitely go down because Myles Garrett won't be there for the rest of the season. And I think the Dolphins score some points with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I think Devontae Parker is a pretty good game. But at the end of the day, I think the Browns win a close one. I got them winning 27-24 over the Dolphins.
Yeah, I got the Browns winning so 24-17 because Garrett, of course, is gone for the year. He leads the team in sacks with 10. So I think that huge loss for their pass rush. And the Dolphins did not play great last week. After 2 straight wins, it looked like they were playing better and all that. So I think they bounced back for a Cleveland team. When's the last time Cleveland's been like a double-digit favorite? So like I just I can't see.
I can't name it.
Yeah, I can't see Cleveland. Being able to cover, but Cleveland defense looked really, really well last week with the 4 interceptions. And another thing, going back to that Garrett thing, one more thing quickly, is doesn't this kind of show the leadership of the Brown coaching staff that one of their players goes out and do that? Like, doesn't like the control in the locker room? Like, doesn't that just kind of show that?
Yeah,
something like that gets your head coach fired.
Yeah.
Whether it's his fault, I mean, I don't.
Freddie Kitchens will definitely be fired at the end of the season. There's no doubt about that.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and then the fact that, and again, one real quick thing about that as well was, did you see Bruce Irvin's reaction on Twitter about the thing? Because I don't know if Baker Mayfield at the game when he was interviewed, I'm not sure by what her name was, but she was interviewing him, and he said, yeah, he shouldn't do that. He's gonna be suspended. And Bruce Irvin says, I understand like being a lead or something. Like, he essentially was saying that you shouldn't say that. Like, it's like, what do you want Baker Mayfield to say? Oh yeah, good job, Myles Garrett. Next time, hit him harder. Like
I was fine with Baker. I was surprised with Baker.
Yeah, that's what a quarterback's or really anyone's reaction that's on the team should have been. But it's Bruce Irvin, so take that for what it's worth. But I think Cleveland should definitely win this game. I mean, it's Miami. Even their leading rusher, Walton, I don't know if you heard, he got released because he's had some, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, was believe punching a pregnant woman. Which
that's bad as well.
Yep, good luck getting a job anywhere. You've now ruined whatever career you've had. Although it wasn't good to start with because you're on Miami. But anyway, Cleveland, you gotta. try to do as good of a job as possible to just erase as much of that memory of what Myles Garrett did. Beat Miami. You got to beat them bad to do that, which I don't think they're going to do, because I think it's going to take them maybe a week or two to adjust without Myles Garrett. Although I do think that Cleveland will definitely win this game. I have Cleveland winning this game by 10. I'll say 27-17 win.
We have an AFC North matchup in Pittsburgh as the Steelers. No, I mean in Cincinnati, as the Steelers travel to Cincinnati to face the Bengals. And I think this could be an upset. I think, is after Mason Rudolph got hit like that, is he going to be 100% for the game? I'm not sure. He's probably going to play. And I think that James Conner might not play, so that could be an issue. The Steelers' offense looked terrible against the Browns on Thursday night. And I think the Steelers definitely have trouble in this game on the road. The Bengals got to win sometimes. It's a rivalry game. This is a game the Bengals think they can win. And I think their defensive line is going to play pretty well. I mean, I think Geno Atkins got a pretty good game getting pressure on Mason Rudolph. And I think that the Bengals will have some success in the running game with Joe Mixon. And I think finally the Bengals win their first game. They get on the board. I got the Bengals in the upset 20-17 over the Steelers.
I have the Steelers hanging on. I have them winning 17-13. I think that the Steelers defense is going to be able to do enough. I think they create a couple of turnovers just for a short field. I know I'm a little worried that Connor's not playing. And Juju's, I think, questionable still. So that could be a tough, without your one, without your starting quarterback, your starting running back, and number one wide receiver. It's tough. And the Bengals played well last week. I felt like in Oakland, Joe Mixon went for over 100 yards for the first time 2 weeks ago. Last week, he had just under 90 yards. So it looks like they're starting to figure that going. And then the other thing one thing I didn't understand for the Bengals is they were warming up Andy Dalton towards the end of that game last week. So it's like, I know you have a chance. It's like, what are you kind of doing to Finley's confidence? We don't trust you to go down the field and try to tie this game up for us. I don't.
Bengals doing Bengals things.
Yeah, I didn't kind of understand that. He never ended up going in, but I didn't really understand that. I think they would have hurt his confidence, but I think the Steelers would be able to hang on and win this one because of their defense, 17-13.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an ugly game. I have them Steelers winning 17-10. Like you said, it's going to be an ugly game. I mean, I think offensively wise, it's, you're going to be watching the game and be like, who's that? And who's that on that team? And who's that? Like, out of the people that might play, like, sounds like Connor might not play. Juju, who knows? The only one you can say for sure that's going to play is Joe Mixon. I mean, that's the only recognizable name that, I think maybe a majority of NFL fans will recognize. I think right now, the only bright spot for really any of these teams, I would say, is the Steelers defense. Like, the defense is pretty good. It's roundly in shape. Like Mika Fitzpatrick is maybe right there for defensive player of the year. Other people criticize that that trade that they did. And the Bengals lose again. They'll go 0-11.
We got an NFC South matchup in Atlanta as the Bucks travel to Atlanta to face the Falcons. And I really like the way the Falcons have been playing since the bye week. I think their defense is starting to really turn it up. I think they're getting pressure on the quarterback with Vic Beasley, Adrian Claiborne, and Grady Jarrett. I think they played really well defensively, and offensively, Matt Ryan has played well the last 2 weeks, and I think that continues this week. And I think they win. And I think they win by a couple scores. I think Matt Ryan is a big game getting the ball to Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones, and I think that the Falcons defense gets pressure on Jameis Winston. I think they get pressure on with Beasley, with Jarrett, and with Claiborne. They get pressure on Jameis Winston. I think the Falcons win this by 2 scores. I got the Falcons winning 31-17 over the Bucks.
Yeah, I have the Falcons win this one 31-20. And look what a bye week can do to a team. They've been unbelievable since the bye. And I think now at home, I think they get to Jameis. As Jameis has had, he's had 19 touchdowns, but he's thrown 18 interceptions, so which is, of course, the most in the league. I think and Tampa's defense giving up over 30 points a game, so I think Matt Ryan's will definitely have a big game. I feel like with this defense that's been so bad for Tampa, because they're 30. Are they 30? Yeah, they're 31st in the league on passing defense. So Matt Ryan will be able to tear them up. I feel like 31-20. Falcons will win this one at home.
Yeah, I feel like the Falcons should win this. Like you said, I mean, look at what this team has, done recently. The past 2 games, they beat the Saints, which no one really expected them to do that, especially the way they did it, 26-9, and then against Carolina, they beat them 29-3. It's like, to me, this is maybe more the team that we were, essentially me, like I was expecting to see. And it's just kind of, I mean, it's obviously they're doing it too late, it's, their seasons and playoff hopes are essentially over unless somehow they run the table. That's maybe the only chance that they do have. And like I said, Jameis Winston throwing 18 interceptions at this point. I mean, like, dude, what is going on? Like, that is just so bad. It's like painful to watch this man watch this man throw the ball sometimes. It's like, it's not even like he'll throw a ball and it's just the defensive players breaking on and making a great play. It is just like some of the most bonehead and just dumb throws. And the fact of is I feel like maybe for a little bit that it was going to be a saving grace that that he might be able to save whatever a little bit of his career, but I don't see it at this point. And I think it's just going to be. It's gonna be a bad. I think it's gonna be a long night for him. I think that I see that the Falcons win by 14 or 17 points. And the only point I have with Jameis Winston is how high in the all-time interception list is this man gonna for a season? Is this man gonna finish? So you have 18 now through 10 games played for them. I mean, I doubt he's gonna be number one because number one allegedly was 42 interceptions thrown.
Who's that?
George Blanda in 1962.
Wow. He's 42 interceptions.
Yeah, well,
Eli had 27 in 2013 and 25 in 2010.
Yeah, and what's sad? That ties him for, I think, according to this thing, for 19th on the list. Like, the second most ever, you guys probably recognize this name, Vinny Testaverde.
35, right?
35.
What year?
Sorry about that. It was 1988.
Wow.
The most recent one that's on this list was Brett Favre with 29 and 05. So
bad.
Yeah, so maybe Winston might top Brett Favre, but like it's painful for them. Eventually, they're gonna end up cutting bait with him at the end of the year, but I don't see them winning this. And I think that the Falcons, offensively wise, will have a big game. Defensively wise, I don't think they're gonna stop them consistently, but they'll be able to get the turnovers, and that's ultimately what's gonna put away the Buccaneers for this game.
We got a big one at 4 o'clock this week as the Cowboys travel up to New England to face the Patriots. And let me get something out of the way first. I am so tired of hearing about Dak being in the MVP conversation. Yes, I think he's improved. Yes, I think he's a top 10 quarterback.
That price tag is going up.
I know. Yes, he'll get paid to be he'll get a huge payday in the offseason. I get it. But he is not an MVP candidate. I mean, come on now. He's 6-4. Yes, he's got 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. That's 7 more interceptions than Russell Wilson. That's more interceptions than Deshaun Watson. That's more interceptions than Lamar Jackson. That's more interceptions than Aaron Rodgers. That's more interceptions than Tom Brady.
Yeah, at tops, he's at the absolute max. If he's 4th at max, and that's if you're really stretching.
And he's not even close to a top 5 quarterback in the league. Yeah. I mean, yes, the guy has made improvements, but there is no way he should ever be considered this season for an MVP candidate. He's 6-4, and the problem is in 3 of those losses, one of them, down 12-10 late in the game against New Orleans, doesn't drive his team down the field for a chance to get the game-winning field goal. Second loss of the year, he threw 3 interceptions against the Packers. Third loss, he loses to the Jets, and yes, he drove him down the field to score a touchdown, but didn't convert to a conversion. And then in their 4th loss, yes, it was a terrible play call by Jason Garrett. Yes, he put up big numbers, but 4th and 5, a top 5 quarterback and MVP, despite the coaching, converts there. And I'm sorry, Dak Prescott, yes, he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's not an MVP candidate. And the Patriots are going to prove that in this game. I think that they're going to play man coverage. I think they're going to contain Ezekiel Elliott again. I think they're going to force Dak to beat them. And I think Dak will make some plays, but definitely not enough plays. I think he's going to make some mistakes too. I think the Patriots defense is going to force him into mistakes. And on the flip side, I think Brady, yes, the Patriots offense has really, really struggled, but I think the Patriots offense has struggled, but in this game against the Cowboys defense, which has not played that well, they didn't play that well last week against Jeff Driscoll. I think Brady has a really good game getting the ball to Edelman, getting the ball to Sanu. I think because the Cowboys secondary is not that good. I think he throws a couple touchdown passes, and I got the Patriots winning this game. I'm going to win it by 10. I got the Patriots beating the Cowboys 27-17 on Sunday, and hopefully that ends the MVP talk. That ends the Dak MVP talk.
Yeah, good. Yeah. Well, he did look impressive with 444 yards, but it's a line secondary that is very bad.
Who's the best team Dak has beaten this year? The Eagles on Sunday night. He's beaten the Giants twice, the Dolphins, the Redskins, the Lions. He's beaten a bunch of bad teams outside of the Eagles. So, and you're going to give him an MVP over Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, and Russell Wilson? Give me a break.
Well, not only that, but it's so. I mean, I understand like him passing wise, the Cowboys are first. But at the same point, I mean, look at what Russell Wilson's doing. He has less weapons than Dak. And Lamar Jackson has less weapons than Dak as well. And they're doing, I would, like, if you give me a choice, obviously, I think anyone's taking those two over Dak.
Yeah, I think Lamar's definitely been better than Dak Prescott, Look, yeah, he's improved and he wants his $40 million. He's going out there and trying to prove it, which to Jerry, who knows. But, and I think the other, huge gap in this game is coaching. Belichick versus Garrett.
That's the problem with the Cowboys is you always, because like their defense talent wise is really, really good. Maybe like they might have one of the most talented rosters on paper.
Yeah, but
the problem is you always fall back and it's like, well, when is Jason Garrett just going to mess it up?
Yeah.
It happens every single game.
Van Der Esch and Smith haven't been as good this year.
Yeah, it's been a little bit of a struggle so far.
Yeah, I mean, the Pats' defense or offense, as we saw last week, was not great against Philly. But when Jeff Driscoll, rookie quarterback, kind of tears you up, I know Brady doesn't have the weapons. It was nice to see Harry back. I think the Pat defense forced Dak to make some mistakes, and I think the Pats win this thing 24-17. I think they play better. They got to slow down. Elliott, he didn't really play well at all last week against the Lions. If Pats can slow him down, they have a great chance. But I just feel I feel very confident in this game as a Pats fan just because of the coaching wise. Like I just feel like Garrett has no chance out with Coach Belichick. Yeah. So I think Pats win this game by a touchdown.
I have the Pats winning it by a touchdown. I could see it be like, a last drive going down and scoring for a touchdown. This is going to show if the Cowboys can adjust. Because I think now this is Dak's team over Zeke's team right now. And right now, like I said, they're first in passing. And the Patriots' pass defense is first. So you have, second. Overall, they're first. So it's essentially strength on strength. Are you going to be able to adjust? Are you going to actually run the ball with Zeke and have that? I feel like if the Cowboys win this game, it's going to be the focusing on Zeke and exploiting the Patriots' run defense, which obviously is the weakness of the defense. And if you're the Patriots, hallelujah, Newhouse is not going to be the left tackle.
It's going to be Isaiah Wynn, which is big because you got DeMarcus Lawrence and you got Robert Quinn.
It is like watching him. I swear to God, any of us could have blocked better. That was just painful, and I think it kind of showed in the first. Especially, I know Wynn played the whole first game, and I believe he played part of the second one. It kind of showed it was able to help him when Brady trusts his blind side. It just puts. I mean, this is with any quarterback. I'm talking about especially someone like Brady who really can't move. It puts your mind at ease. You are able to gain that trust and put trust in him, so you're not able to worry about it and constantly looking over your shoulder. Is he coming at me? Or again, against the Eagles, they were throwing that ball so fast. And I understand the Patriots normally do that in general, but it was like that plus. I mean, it was insane. It was a million screen passes because they don't trust Newhouse at all, and I don't. I mean, trade that man for a bag of popcorn at this point. I mean, more useful. And I think that ultimately is going to help the passing offense. It's going to be able to give the weapons more time to go down the field, get separation, see what N'Keal Harry does in the second game back, which is going to be fun because it's going to hopefully give them more weapons than just, Mohamed Sanu and Edelman on a consistent basis. But I do think it's going to be a close game because I'm interested to see, especially when they use James White in the pass game, whether it's Van Der Esch on him or Jalen Smith, they're super athletic going up against James White, who they love to use him in little option routes out of the backfield. It'll be interesting to see how effective that still is. I think it's going to be a good game, but I do think the Patriots will win this game ultimately because, like you said, coaching difference. I mean, Belichick, Jason Garrett, sorry. Oh, no, it ain't close. So I think ultimately that's what's going to win the game for the Patriots.
He's not throwing screens to Michelle. I liked him coming out of college, but he cannot catch.
I don't think that man could catch in college, and then come pros, it's like Nelson Aguilar hands.
Yeah.
Just throw the ball to James White, Roxborough kid. Call it a day.
Exactly. And before we get to our next game, I want to give a shout out to Andrew Hoops, a CSB grad and former campus coordinator here. This is actually our 100th show we've done. I started this show 2 years ago with Mike Bernetti. He was a big reason we got the show started 2 years ago. I saw Andrew, said I want to get a sports talk show going here. We got it on All Noise Radio, so definitely want to give, he's listening right now, I'm going to give a big shout out to Andrew. He's a big reason why we got the show going. This is our 100th show we've done.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
So we'll move on to our next game, and we got the Jags heading to Tennessee to face the Titans. And I think this is going to be a game where Derrick Henry, just like last year, remember Derrick Henry had a huge game, had that 98-yard run against the Jaguars last year. The
Did he have
Jaguars
like 200 yards and like 4 touchdowns?
The Jaguars' run defense is absolutely terrible, and I think that's going to show up this week too. I think Derrick Henry has a big week. I do think the Jags get pressure on Ryan Tannehill, but I think that the Titans score enough points. I think that the Jaguars move the ball with Nick Foles, but it's not enough. And I think that the Titans win this game. I got them winning it 24-16 over the Jaguars.
Yeah, I got the Titans to win this one, 23-17. And I was looking at the numbers to see what the difference has been between Mariota and Tannehill this year. So Mariota in the first 10 starts that in his first couple games, they were averaging 16 points a game. And if you take out the Browns week 1 game, they would only average 11, where they had that huge breakout of 43 points where they scored a couple defensive touchdowns. And now in Tannehill's, in the 4 weeks Tannehill's played, they are averaging 26 points a game. And they've already scored 105 points in 4 weeks. And in the first 6 with Mariota, they only scored 95 total.
Well, plus look at the drive. Wasn't against the Chiefs that Tannehill led that drive to win, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I mean, does anyone want to bet Mariota was going to do that?
And I'm not trying to bury Mariota because I liked him at Oregon. I think he was a really good quarterback. He's not a quarterback that's great under center, and it just wasn't a great fit for him. I'm not trying to throw Mariota under the bus because I did like him out of college.
He needs to have the right system.
Yeah,
and then he could be an effective quarterback.
It's not under the center. It's really not. He wasn't. It didn't work out.
Yeah, it's not his game.
It's not, and and the Jaguars dominated this game in week 2 on Thursday Night Football. I think it was. They got 9. The Jags got 9 sacks on Mariota. I just don't think it's going to be the same. I think Henry's going to be able to have a lot of success on the ground. Jonathan Williams ran for 116 yards against them last week in the second half. So I think it will take care of business at home.
Yeah, I have Tennessee winning as well. I have them winning 24-20. Like you said, Derrick Henry, I don't think, obviously, I'm not going to expect 200 yards and 4 touchdowns like he did last year. I'm not expecting that, although it would be fun. It would be fun to see. Definitely not going to start Jacksonville's defense in fantasy that I have because I'm going to avoid that at all costs. But I think showing, like you said, with Tannehill, it just shows the fact of, obviously Tannehill can move and he's a similar kind of quarterback, about his ability in terms of he can run and throw the ball, but he's just better under center. That's way more of his game than obviously, like you said, with Mariota. And like you said, with the showing the stats that Tannehill's just able to move the ball more consistently, be more accurate, and just be able to just keep moving the chain. You don't always have to look for big plays and running it. Just keep taking short routes, make it 2nd and 5, make it 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, and be able to have more manageable downs where you're able to pass and run the ball, pass the ball, play action, do whatever, be able to mix in Derrick Henry because obviously you need to focus on him when it's short yardage because he's such a power back that you got to focus on that, and then that allows you to mix in the play action, which then Ryan Tannehill can hit the big plays over top when they are allowed those opportunities. And I think we could see both running backs being Fournette and Derrick Henry have big games. I could see maybe 100 to 125 for each of them. So if you like running the ball and seeing good running backs, I think this is the game for you. But I do think ultimately what the difference is going to be is that Nick Foles is still going to get back in the swing of things after that injury that he had. Tannehill's kind of he's moving right now. You're seeing what's his strength with this team, what his strength is, and I think that the Titans are going to be able to exploit that via the run game, that mix on the play action, and Tannehill will end up hitting big plays over the top late in the game.
Yeah, so we got a big Sunday night game as the 8-2 Packers travel to San Francisco to face the 9-1 49ers. And this should be, I'm really excited for this game. It should be a really good game. But I think at the end of the day, I'm going to take the better quarterback in this game. And I think the Niners injuries are going to make a difference. Not having Joe Staley, not having D Ford, they might not have George Kittle. I think that's going to make a difference in this game, because I think Aaron Rodgers, without D Ford, I think they're going to double Nick Bosa. I think he's going to have more time than he normally would have to throw the ball. And I think that Rodgers has a really good game. I think the Packers put up over 30 points. I think they have a really good game. And I think with 49ers, I think they have a lot of success running the ball. The problem is I think they're going to kick field goals and not get touchdowns. And I think the pressure of Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith, because last week Chandler Jones got a lot of pressure against Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the pressure of Zadarius Smith and Preston Smith is going to make the difference. And I got the Packers winning this game. I got them winning it 31-23 over the Niners.
Yeah, I got the Packers going into Santa Clara and getting the win 30-24. This should be a good one. Yeah, we saw last week the Niners, they had to kind of hang on against the Cardinals. Not great. They got a turn at the end to kind of make it a 2-score game.
Which I covered the money line, if I'm not mistaken, too. Because I believe it was a 10-point spread.
Yeah.
And it ended up getting a last second thing.
Yeah.
Imagine how much that really ticked off people.
Oh yeah. So, they did not play well last week, and I think they come back, and they're very banged up. I know they hopefully have Kittle back, and soon. I know he's still questionable. We'll see. D Ford, it sounds like he's out for a couple weeks, so I think Rodgers be able to have success on the road. Green Bay's been +9 turnover margin as well. And we've seen Garoppolo has made some mistakes the last couple of weeks, so I think the Packer D will force them to make 1 or 2 mistakes, and that'll be the difference. Packers go on the road, and this could be a huge game, too, for home field advantage in the NFC. I know the Saints are right there, too, but this could be a big one for even a bye.
Yep. I think that the Packers are going to win this one as well. I think I'll say it'll be like 31-24 Packers. And this is why. Because you've seen ever since the Niners played the Cardinals the first time, it's been close games or losses every game. So not that I think they're coming somewhat back down earth. Obviously, they're still a phenomenal team. This team has talent. Although right now they're kind of being bitten by the injury bug. They are 9-1. So obviously they're giving themselves some leadway, so maybe they can, you obviously never want to lose a game, but you can afford a couple losses where it's not going to put you out of playoff contention. But like I said, but we faced the Cardinals the first time, only won just by 3 points, 28-25. Then they lost to Seattle in overtime by, field right at the end of overtime, 27-24. Then they beat the Cardinals. Really, they only won it by 3, but ultimately the touchdown.
Schedule gets tough though. They got to go to the Ravens. They got to go to the Saints.
Brutal.
Yeah. And they got to go to the Seahawks too. So
they literally faced like the who's who of the NFL. It's like Packers, tough. Ravens, tough. Saints, tough. Falcons, solid. Rams, solid. Seahawks, tough. You don't have a pushover game the rest of the year. So it's going to be interesting. Maybe how people were saying, like with the Patriots, how they played kind of a soft schedule at the beginning. Maybe that's what we're going to see if that works in the 49ers' favor. Maybe they really are, to this level. We're going to see it. But I think the injuries are going to do them in this week against the Packers. Like you said, the Smith brothers in Green Bay are going to put on pressure. Like you said, Justin, that Garoppolo, I think, will get a couple of turnovers forced by that Packers team, especially those two Smith brothers. And I think ultimately that's what's going to win the game for the Packers, because the Niners were able to keep it close, being able to run the ball. But I think ultimately, like Steve said, they're going to be kicking more field goals than touchdowns. And I think Green Bay will win this game by 7.
We got the Monday night game. This is another really good game in LA. Let's see if this brings out a huge crowd in LA. Just like last year, this Chiefs-Rams game. This could be very similar to that game.
I'd love that. That game
as Lamar goes to LA to face the Rams, and this should be a fun game to watch. But I think that the Rams defense is pretty good. They played really well. I know the Bears offense is terrible, but they played well last week against the Bears. Played really well against the Steelers. The Rams defense, ever since they got Jalen Ramsey, has started to play really, really well. I think defensively, I think this team has been better than they even were were last year. But the problem with the Rams is offensively, they're not even close to as good as they were last year. Their O-line has been bad this year. They really haven't been able to get
painful at times.
Todd Gurley has not been the same. They haven't been able to get a consistent running game, and that's resulted in Jared Goff not being the same at all either, or Sean McVay being the same at all either. But I think this is a competitive game. I think the Rams contain the Ravens' run game, but you can't shut the Ravens' run game down. You just got to contain it. So I think obviously the Ravens will get their yards on the ground. I think the problem in this game for the Rams is I think they might move the ball a little bit, but I think they're going to kick field goals, not get touchdowns. I think the Ravens, this no-name defense, is going to get pressure on Jared Goff. I think they're going to contain. They're going to pretty much shut down Todd Gurley. And I got the Ravens winning. I got them winning at 27-19 on Monday Night Football over the Rams.
Yeah, I got the Ravens winning this one as well, going on the road. I have them winning this one 24-20. And for the Rams, their defense has been good. They just, Steve, I'm with you. They just got to contain it. There's just no way you're going to be able to stop this defense. There's just no way, And last week, I think it was against the Bengals. They were the first team ever to have three Heisman winners in the backfield. They had Lamar out there with RG3, and then they had Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I remember, was it like the little option play?
Yeah. So that's just that's just how good that backfield could be with those guys back there. So, and both these defenses have been great. They're both allowing under 20 points a game. So I think this could be a defensive tight game, but I just think the Ravens, the way they run the ball is going to be too much. Lamar Jackson is averaging 6.85 yards a carry, which is pretty unreal. They're having 203 yards a game on the ground. They absolutely tore apart the Texans last week. I think they go to LA and get the win 24-20.
I have the Ravens winning it 28-20 for the sole fact. Even if Aaron Donald gets pressure, guess what? Lamar Jackson's going to run away from him because, Aaron Donald is fast, but he ain't Lamar Jackson fast. Really, who is in the NFL? Except a handful of players. But the saving grace that I could see for them is getting that pressure on them because Lamar Jackson right now obviously is an insanely talented runner. Like that, it is amazing to watch that man run the ball. Passing wise, they're 20th in passing.
He's gotten better as a pocket passer. He's not a great pocket passer. That's why I don't think he should be the MVP, but he's definitely gotten better. That's why he's top 10, arguably top 5 quarterback, is because he's gotten better as a pocket passer.
Yeah, and he's definitely able to, throw the ball. I remember there was the play against the Patriots. It was a corner out to Mark Andrews, throw a perfect ball, a high ball to tight end. Tight end jumped up, snagged it, first down. So he is able to pass the ball. He's not. He doesn't have to rely on just running it felt like how he was last year. He's seen progression in the quarterback. And I think the Rams defense is going to be able to make some plays, but they're ultimately, if they had Marcus Peters, maybe they'd win this game. But I just think, I wonder with Marcus Peters being on the Ravens, how much is he gonna play with his technique and not just want to just show him up in a big primetime game and try too hard and try to make plays when the plays aren't there to be made. So that's gonna be, I feel like that's something to definitely pay attention to and watch. But I feel like it's gonna be a fun game. It's not gonna be the high scoring game that Rams Chiefs game was last year. Although if it was, I wouldn't mind that. That's going to be fun to watch. I like high-scoring games. I think ultimately the Ravens will win this game 28-20.
All right, so we'll shift over now to college football, and the rankings came out yesterday. We'll obviously have our show after this, me and Justin, our reaction show. So we'll go over the rankings. We'll go over the top 10, because those are really the 10 teams that have any shot at making the college football playoff. We'll start with LSU number 1. Obviously, they play Arkansas. They'll win this week, and then they got the Texas A&M game. And if they win out, I think, even if they lose the SEC title game, I think they're going to get into the playoff. You got Ohio State at number 2 as a huge game this week, which is a game that if they don't beat Penn State, they very easily could miss the college football playoffs. So their biggest game is because I think for Ohio State, they could lose to Michigan, win the Big Ten, and still get in the playoff. But if they lose to Penn State, they'd have a hard time making the playoff because they would lose the Big Ten East. You got Clemson, who I think has a bye this week, and they got South Carolina, so they should finish undefeated. They're probably the team that's most likely to make the playoff. Them or LSU, because they just have such an easy schedule down the stretch, and Clemson will obviously probably make the playoff. And then you got Georgia at number 4, big game this week against Texas A&M at home, which they should win. Then they got Georgia Tech, and then they'll probably they're going to play LSU in that huge SEC title game. Number 5, you got Alabama. This is the interesting one now with Tua out for the season. That's going to be really interesting to see what happens because if Georgia loses the SEC championship game, it's going to be interesting what happens. Will they pick the Oregon-Utah winner to win, which I think they're going to do, and that's going to make Jace Garcia really happy because Jace Garcia is a huge Pac-12 guy, or do they put Alabama at 4? That's going to be the interesting question. Really, the interesting question is going to be what they do it for. So we'll go down to the 6 and 7. They both come from Jace Garcia's conference, the Pac-12. You got Oregon at 6. Oregon and then Utah at 7. Both should win their 2 games. The next 2 weeks and meet up in that huge Pac-12 championship game. We might have to get Jace Garcia on before that one. That'd be interesting.
Oh yeah.
And we got Penn State at 8, who pretty much has to beat Ohio State or they'll have no shot at going to the college football playoff. This is a must-win this Saturday for Penn State on the road. Got Oklahoma at 9, which is interesting. We'll see what ends up happening there. That's going to be interesting having Oklahoma at 9. They got TCU this week, and then they go to Oklahoma State in the Bedlam game. That's going to be an interesting game, the Bedlam game.
Yeah.
Especially if Oklahoma has 1 loss. And then you got Minnesota at 10, who hosts Wisconsin for the Big Ten West Championship. So, Justin, what are your reactions to the top 10 rankings?
Of course, 1 through 7, no movement this week, but it was all chalk last week. Kind of disappointing. I like to kind of see the chaos and all this. I don't like the rankings to stay like they are. Penn State moves up 1 spot. I know there is some controversy between that because Minnesota, but the common opponent, Penn State beat Iowa, Minnesota lost Iowa. I'm fine with it. Minnesota, look, they win the Big Ten. Did they win the Big Ten outright? I think they probably get in. They'd get in, so it'll work itself out. Oklahoma was interesting to see where the committee would do. Would they put them ahead of Penn State because they beat Baylor, but ugly win, and so I'm fine with seeing they're there, but we kind of see with the Big 12 they're not really respecting the Big 12. Big thing for Oklahoma is now that they want Oklahoma State, of course, to win out win this week. Oklahoma State has West Virginia on the road, which could be a tricky game. Neil Brown. Boundaries trying to play a little bit better. I think they lost the last week, but because Oklahoma's got to go to Oklahoma State, so that could be another top 25 win on the road. But Bedlam's always a fun game to watch. It's a shootout usually. And going to that Alabama-Oregon debate, a very interesting point is if Alabama goes to Auburn next week and wins with Mac Jones.
And yet Oregon who lost to Auburn. That's going to get very interesting. Site. Yeah.
So watch there. That committee may, because as we've seen, they have not rewarded conference championships at some points, at times. Would that be that point right there where Alabama, if Oregon would beat Utah in the Pac-12 championship game, that would be a very interesting scenario right there. So that that's something to keep your eye on as next week. As Alabama should beat Western Carolina this week. I think they're like a 59-point favorite at the moment. So they should be okay. But that's really my reaction. Not much movement this week. But in this last point, the Orange Bowl. I don't know. They have a contract with the ACC. So one of these. So that New Year's Six Bowl, it would have to go to the highest rated ACC team, which it may be the loser of the ACC championship game. So we may have an unranked team in the New Year's Six Bowl. So, and I don't really like that, but
just gross.
They have the Orange Bowl has a contract with the ACC, so Clemson won't fulfill that unless they lose somehow. But I do want to throw that in there too. Somebody could get pushed over by that.
Yeah, the top 10 for me, the only thing that I was really looking at the potential, movement was to see what they were going to do with Oklahoma after they had that miraculous, comeback. And then with Alabama, with Tua's injury, excuse me, was that how are they going to react to that? Because you saw, I believe wasn't it the first year of the college playoffs with the Cardell Jones in Ohio State, where people were wondering, how was that going to work out when he got put in there? And ultimately we saw what he did. He, led them to a national title game along with Ezekiel Elliott. With Mac Jones, it's going to be interesting because I feel like that potentially the committee could lean one way or another. That even if they, they win but struggle, people that might be like, oh, well, they're without Tua, so maybe they might give them a little leadway but like maybe not. I just wonder how the committee is gonna be like that, because I feel like that's gonna be the big time question. As long as Alabama, of course, doesn't lose, is who's gonna be in there? Is it gonna be Bama? Is it gonna be Oregon? If they end up winning out, that's gonna be the big time debate, is who's gonna be number 4. 'Cause I think we all can agree, like, obviously if LSU wins, they're gonna be there. If Ohio State wins, they're gonna be there. Clemson wins, obviously they're gonna be there. So it's gonna be whoever at 4, and then obviously if LSU ends up facing Georgia, championship game, Georgia loses, okay, they're out. So then you have Bama, Oregon, see what goes on, Oklahoma, see what goes on, with Penn State, with them, if they lose and all. It's going to be fun to watch down the line. But like you said, this week it was essentially chalk. There wasn't going to be much change. But down the road, it's going to line up for very, very interesting to see who is number 4.
All right, we'll get into the games, and we got number 8 Penn State traveling to Columbus to face number 2 Ohio State. And yes, Ohio State is an 18-point favorite.
I get to watch this whole game before work. Yay!
I don't think they beat them by that much, but I think Ohio State beats them by a couple scores. I just think, and the biggest difference is the quarterback position. Justin Fields is clearly a better quarterback than Sean Clifford. Penn State has not seen a quarterback like Justin Fields all year, and I think he's going to have a big game. And I got Ohio State winning this. I think Chase Young has a really big game too, and Penn State's offensive line is suspect. I think Chase Young has a huge game too as well. I think Sean Clifford struggles just like he did against Minnesota, and I got Ohio State winning. I got Ohio State winning 31-17, and they'll clinch a spot in the Big Ten championship game.
Yeah, I got the Buckeyes winning this one 38-23. Penn State, Clifford needs to have if they have any chance, he needs to have a big day, because they got to keep up with this. Penn State defense is good, but they
haven't seen anything like Ohio State.
They haven't,
this year,
and they're going to have to keep up scoring wise.
Minnesota was the closest thing offensively.
Yeah, and their offense is good, but it ain't Ohio State where they're just deadly. You gotta
pick your poison.
Yeah, they got to keep up, and I don't know if Clifford's that guy. He's got to get rid of that ball quickly. Chase Young, he has 4 strip sacks on the season, which is the most in the country. And of course, Penn State's offensive line hasn't been great. They got to slow down the Ohio State deep threats. Penn State's gonna have to take some shots. They got to slow down Ohio State so they don't take a ton of shots. But Penn State secondary hasn't been great at all. They gave up over 500 yards to Minnesota, and then they gave up 460 last week at home to Indiana. I think their secondary is going to struggle. The 84th in the country against that. They're 4th against the rush, though, so maybe they can slow down J.K. Dobbins, but this is the best running back they're going to see. And the 18-point favorite for Ohio State, I think it's a little too much, but I'm really just excited to see Ohio State. I think they're the most complete team in the country because of LSU's defense is not great. So I think Ohio State's is the most complete team. It's good to see. I can't wait to see them now go up against a very good Penn State defense. There's 17th in the country overall wise. This should be a fun one. I think this is like a 1-score game at half, but I think Ohio State ends up pulling away in the second half just because they just have so much. Ryan Day's done a great job with this with the team this year, and they're just like a well-oiled machine. If they win this game, they pretty much, I think, as long as they don't lose to Michigan and then get blown out in the Big Ten championship game, they pretty much, I feel like, are in a good spot for the college football playoff that they'll be in.
Yeah, like you said, I feel like Ohio State's going to win this game by, I'll say, 14, 17 points. Like you said about Ohio State, they're such a complete team. Look at defensively wise, they're giving up passing wise 126 yards per game, rushing wise 90, and on offense, passing wise, they're gaining 254 yards, rushing wise 287 yards rushing. So for a total of 541 yards, they're moving the ball on offense. You want to try to stop, Fields passing the ball, guess what? They'll beat you with the run game. You want to try to stack the box or, force them to pass? Fields will beat you in the pass game. So it's like, pick your poison. How do you want to get beaten by Ohio State? And then against that defense, that defense is lethal. And Chase Young, I feel like, is showing... I don't know you guys, but I feel like he's probably the best player in college football.
Oh yeah, no,
I agree.
I think he's
so good.
Bro's had a great year now with Tua. I think he should be the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
I think
but the Bengals got to take a quarterback. They're not going to take him. Pass rusher is the second most important position, but you got to take the quarterback.
Yeah, because Dalton's done, but I think whoever
he should be the first one taken. But it's just going to be the team needs. But like, the team is just so loaded. But like we said earlier, if Penn State does win this game, it's going to start that chaos, and you're going to start it, and it's going to be fun to watch to see what the rankings are going to be like. But I just don't see a way, especially in Ohio State Stadium. It's going to be a loud stadium, and especially if they get up 10 or 14 points early, being Ohio State gets up 10, 14 points early, this might get ugly quick, because with that, how loud that crowd is going to be, it's going to be noisy. It's going to be hard for Penn State offense to be able to communicate, and that's just going to give the Ohio State's offense energy, your defense energy, and then they could end up blowing out. But I do think it's going to be a little closer than what you said for the first half. Ohio State pulls away in the second half. I have them winning, I'll say by 17.
Got an SEC matchup in Athens as Texas A&M faces Georgia, and I think Georgia's defense contains Texas A&M. I think it's going to be a Georgia win by 10. I think Georgia wins and stays the number 4 team in the country.
I think this could be definitely a tricky game for Georgia at the beginning, because you just come off that very physical SEC battle with Auburn. Two power. That love to run the ball. Georgia looked great the first 3 quarters, and then it looked like they took their foot off the gas that fourth quarter. And I think if that game went another 5 to 10 minutes, I think Auburn comes back and beats them. But this Texas A&M team sitting at 7-3, and not a lot of people talking about them. And their 3 losses so far are to Alabama, Auburn, and Clemson. So 3 top 10 teams. And then the thing is, you gotta. I think they host LSU, or no, they're in Death Valley next Saturday night. So you're sitting right now at Texas A&M 7-3, but now you gotta go to Georgia and LSU to finish the season, which is 2 toughest games in the country. To finish off with. You could be sitting there at 7-5, and the year could be looking mediocre. I thought Texas A&M, but for Texas A&M, they're still young. Their leading rusher, Spillman, and their leading touchdown receiver are both true freshmen. So that's the thing. So it's still a young team. They have a ton of sophomores, juniors, and freshmen that start. So I think the Aggie team's could be very good in a year. I just think Georgia just has too much for them. I think them or Ohio State have the best defense in the country. I think Texas A&M I would not be surprised at halftime at Texas A&M, down by a field goal, tied, or maybe even winning. I just think Georgia wears them down. Texas A&M, they've been able to win the time of possession when they're winning games and they're ahead of games. If they can do that, keep kind of Georgia's offense off the field and get ahead, because Georgia's offense, as we know, is not explosive. They're not, they're one of those kind of old school offenses, run a lot, kind of power run type game. So if they could do that, I think they'll be all right. And then the last thing is the Aggies have scored 21 rushing touchdowns this year. Georgia's only given up 1 rushing touchdown. It's very interesting. Georgia's rush defense has been very, very good. But I think Georgia does get this one, and they should cruise right in the SEC championship game. Georgia Tech shouldn't cause any problems.
Yeah, and I'll be real quick. I think Georgia's going for the sole fact of they've been there, done that. They've been in big games. Jake Fromm has been in big games. Their head coach has coached big games. Like you said, Texas A&M is a young team, potentially down the line maybe another year or 2. They could be a very nice and tough team, over there, for teams in the SEC. But for right now, I think Georgia's going to win this game, and I think they'll win the game by, I'll say by 10. Like you said, they'll pull away late after wearing down A&M.
We'll wrap up the show talking about 2 Pac-12 games, and we got Oregon this week going to Arizona State. Herm Edwards' team, but I think Oregon wins this game easily. Justin Herbert has a huge week, puts up over 40 points, and Oregon wins easy over Arizona State.
Yeah, Arizona State's defense, Herm's done a good job. I feel like they've only given up about 20. They've given up 23 points per game. I think they kind of
play to win the game.
Yeah, I think it's close early, but again, Oregon, ABC 7:30. They got the showcase game of the week. You're going to probably see Oregon's best effort.
Yeah. People can finally watch Oregon.
Yeah, they're not playing that.
Jace Garcia will be glued to the TV for that one.
Probably like, yes.
Yeah, I think, what time do Utah play?
10 o'clock,
They're
I think.
10, so
he'll be glued for like 6 hours to the TV during both those 2 games.
Yeah. These late night games.
Get some coffee.
Yeah. But I think Oregon will be able to get done. I think Herm comes out. They keep it close early. Jaden Daniels, true freshman, 14 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions for a true freshman. Not bad at all. Kind of easing them in there. And Benjamin, again, a running back just under 1,000 yards rushing. Guy nobody really talks about. I think he'd be a little bit better this year than he has been. I think he's been a little banged up. And then their wide receiver, Brandon Ajek, who has 964 receiving yards. That's 500 more than their second leading receiver. So he's their main man. So if Oregon could kind of double team him, make somebody else beat him, this should be okay. And then for Oregon, they're second in the country, second country only allowing 14 points per game. And they're first in the country with 17 interceptions a game. 17. They have 17 total interceptions. And the true freshman, Kavad Thibodeau, the number 1 overall recruit in last recruiting signing period, he has 5.5 sacks, and all 5 of those have came in the last 5 games. So he's really starting to come into a groove right now. I think Oregon's too much for him. I think Ducks win this one 27-10.
Yeah, I have Oregon winning by big. I'll say by 17. For the sole fact of Herbert's a senior, so he's going to have that experience. If somehow it does come close to the end, he's going to have the experience. He's going to be, again, been there, done that. And for Arizona State, where Jaden Daniels being a freshman, obviously he doesn't have the experience. Maybe down the line he'll be able to keep up with a team of this caliber, and especially a quarterback of this caliber. Just in her, I think ultimately late that he might end up making a couple turnovers, interceptions, fumbles, whatever it may be, and that's ultimately what's going to do them in and make them lose to Oregon.
Last game we'll talk about Utah at Arizona, and I think Utah's defense dominates and they win by a couple scores.
Yeah, Arizona's defense has been brutal. They're 126. They're allowing 38 points a game.
That's bad.
Utah beat UCLA last week 49-3 or 42. It was 49-3. And UCLA, Chip Kelly, they were playing a little bit better. I think they won 2 or 3 straight going into that game. I thought UCLA would keep it close for a little bit. They did not. Khalil Tate the last 2 years has kind of gone off the radar. This year he's only had 12 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. I've never been a big Kevin Sublin fan, and
I remember people were saying that Tate would be like a Heisman possible.
There was with Rich Rodriguez, and then they all kind of
that ended quick.
that did, and Arizona's been able to score. They're 17th in the country, but Utah, this is the best defense they're gonna see. I think Utah wins this game big. I think this is another blowout for Utah last week. I think they win this game 30-17. I just think Utah is just way too much. Tyler Huntley and Zach Moss will be able to just tear them out. Actually, I'm going to go 41-17 or 41-17. Utah is just going to dominate them down the desert.
Yeah, I have Utah winning by, I'd say 28 plus. I think it's just going to be an utter blowout. In fact, at least said Tate was possible Heisman candidate a couple years ago. Now all of a sudden, he's not even remotely close, not even on the radar. Never, no chance. And right now, like you said, Arizona, defense-wise, about 315 yards passing. That's pretty bad. And then you're also on top of that giving up 164 yards rushing. So it's your defense is not that good. Your offense has been able to keep up to an extent and not allow you to be 0-10. But against this team, which defense is insanely good, especially rushing wise, defense giving up 55 yards per game, so good luck running the ball. They're going to force you to pass, which they're pretty good with that, giving up just a hair under 200 yards, giving up 193 yards passing. So then they'll be able to shut that down. Then you're not going to be able to do a single thing. And defensive wise, you're not going to be able to stop them. So this is just going to be ugly.
And this is what they've given up Arizona. They're on a 5-game losing streak. They already fired the D coordinator. 51 to Washington, 41 to USC, 41 to Stanford, 56 to Oregon State, and they only gave up 34 last week to Oregon. So the last 5 weeks for Arizona, their defense has been torched, and Utah hasn't torched them again.
And according to my calculations, that is what we call bad. Very bad. That's good luck, Arizona. It's going to be a long day.
Absolutely. So let's get to wrap it up this week for Sports Talk with RKJ. We want to, as I mentioned earlier in the show, this is our 100th show. The show started back in January of 2017. Me and Mike Bernetti started this show. And Mike Bernetti now, who is the sports director at WINY, I want to give him a shout out for me and him started this show back in January 2017.
Thank you, sir.
Kyle and Justin joined me in August of 2018. We've really grown the show. We started out as an internet radio show. Then we started going on YouTube, going on YouTube, putting our stream up. And now we're Facebook Live. So we're live streaming on Facebook Live. So we've really came a long way from 2.5 years ago, and we want to thank everybody who's been a part of it. So for Kyle Galuli and Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking Week 13 of the NFL season and Week 12, the final week of the regular season of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everybody.